Let's talk about gun violence. 327 people are shot every day, 23 minors are shot every day, and Americans are 26 times more likely to be shot and killed than any other high-income country. That is a statistic from the Brady article Statistics by researcher Chris Brown. This is The Current Problem with Gun Violence by myself, Chloe LAGRANT, and YVETTE BOAKYE. Today we will be discussing the basics of gun violence, starting with what it is, how and why it happens, how it affects our country, and what we can do to combat it. What is gun violence? Gun violence is the use of firearms to threaten, injure, or kill someone. It includes crimes such as shootings, murders, suicides, and accidents that happen when guns are used carelessly. Gun violence happens in homes, workplaces, schools, public places, anywhere really, and it affects all kinds of people. 58% of gun violence-related crimes are suicide, 38% of gun violence-related acts are homicides, and the other 4% of gun violence-related crimes are accidents, mass shootings, and law enforcement-related acts. It becomes a public health crisis that requires stronger laws and community-based prevention efforts. Many things can cause gun violence, but one of the main causes is the easy access to firearms. In many states, people can get access to guns with minimal background checks and safety trainings. Other things like poverty, crimes, and lack of mental health support can also play a big role in why gun violence occurs. Although there are many bad outcomes related to guns, sometimes they can be helpful. A lot of people argue that guns are used as a form of protection, which in some cases is true. The article, Exercising the Right of People to Keep and Bear Arms Shall Not Be Infringed, Patrick Cray talks about different scenarios where the Second Amendment has been used correctly. It talks about two different situations where homeowners use their rights to bear arms to protect themselves from intruders. What is not talked about often is the history of gun violence and why the right to bear arms was created in the first place. The article, A History of Gun Rights in America, by historian Patrick J. Charles, talks about a history of gun rights and how in 1791 it was created for soldiers to be able to carry guns and use them for protection, rather than all Americans. The right was later expanded to all Americans as a necessary check against standing army.
So, what are the effects of gun violence in the United States? The effects of gun violence can be felt across the nation when a gun related incident occurs. Some of the primary causes include causing deaths, especially in our younger population, with each year with the rise in school shootings. The article, The Impact of Firearm Violence Exposure on Youth in the United States, talks about ACE. ACE are adverse childhood experiences, which are described as potentially traumatic experiences that occur during childhood. These occur when youth, like teenagers and adolescents, are exposed to traumatic events like gun violence. ACE has been linked to long term effects such as PTSD, depression, and anxiety. It has been estimated that nearly 25 million children are exposed to at least one ACE. Studies like online interests regarding violent attacks, gun control, and gun ownership, a casual analysis, have shown that increased gun ownership leads to a higher sense of full security, which can contribute to the increased death relating to firearm violence. As more violent attacks and shootings occur, people might be more inclined to purchase a firearm, as they might believe that it will provide them with a sense of safety and security. But studies have shown that this notion does the opposite. It rather preys on people's anxieties and fears and might usher them to make a rash decision of buying a gun, which could potentially lead to the rising gun related deaths and injury tolls.
When a searing tragedy struck in a place parents felt their children were safe. The worst grade school shooting in U.S. history.
This topic brings to mind one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history, the Sandy Hook shooting. This occurred on December of 2012 in Newton, Connecticut, where an armed shooter, Adam Lanza, shot 20 children and 6 adults at the Sandy Hook Elementary School. This occurred due to 20-year-old Adam Lanza having access to a firearm that his mom owned, and he used more firearms owned by his mother later in the day. He fired 145 rounds in less than 5 minutes, ending the lives of 26 people. These people were a part of someone's family. We would like now to take a brief moment of silence for all the students and adults that died in the Sandy Hook incident. Due to the shooting, there began a spark. There was a proposed bill of the External Assault Weapon Ban of 2013, yet it did not pass at the federal level. Though this failed, similar bills were enacted in various states, but not on a national level. This showed the lack of any significant legislation after this horrific shooting, and even until now, there has been increasing number of school shootings from elementary to the college level institutions. As the number of deaths in children due to school shootings increase, there have been debates on whether to review the Second Amendment, yet there has been nothing done about the situation. Our society and government time and time again fail to provide concrete solutions. It's up to oneself to find and produce results to remedy our country's long-standing issue of gun violence. So, what can we do about the situation? Our first step in reducing or combating gun violence is through education. It is important to teach people about the impact of gun violence on different populations and also educate the people going to these communities, like our social workers, and putting an effort in to aid communities who have suffered from gun violence. In a 2025 article, Addressing Gun Violence Through Social Work, it describes how social workers are very ill prepared to deal with victims and uncovers different ways social workers can be better prepared when dealing with these victims. Through adequate education of social workers, who are usually at the forefront of these incidents, we will be able to aid affected communities and advocate for a change in our current legislation. Another way to reduce gun violence is to call for stricter regulations for gun laws in America. This can be done through peaceful protests or taken to social media like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to rally others for the cause. This also includes leaders that are more likely to support this agenda than be against it. In the surveillance of gun-related conversations on Twitter by researchers John Patrick Elam, Malan Biani, Brad J. Bushman showed that people felt the most passionate about tweets dealing with gun control, the right to bear arms, and the safety of children in schools, which had the top 3 highest tweet counts. This showed that there are several discourse and high intention on Twitter and possibly other social media platforms with the rise of gun violence. Active social participation in this issue can reveal what the public opinion on the issue is and also social legislation that it's time to act now, building a sense of community who are united for a cause. There has been a long-standing debate on the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms in our Constitution. People have abused this power or right, ending lives before they even began. Though there's reasonable claims for people to carry guns, such as self-defense, this claim has been up for debate in recent years with the dramatic increase in gun violence. While the Second Amendment makes it difficult to ban guns, it's paramount that there are laws and regulations set in place to reduce the amount of people allowed to own a gun. You should not wait for another accident of gun violence to happen to educate yourself about gun violence. There are so many ways you can get involved about gun violence. These are some of the prevention organizations that have been established in the U.S. to combat this issue. The Sandy Hook Promise is a nonprofit organization established to educate and prevent gun violence in the youth and children after the Sandy Hook shooting. Moms Demand Action fights for policies that can prevent gun violence, and every town works to end gun violence all across America. Guns can be used as a weapon of mass destruction by individuals to commit violent acts in this community. If new laws are not put in place to regulate who has the right to own a gun, there is always a risk between who dies and who lives by gun violence.